Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping in today. I have a new layout to share for the Paige Evans design team. And today I am showcasing Paige's new Flamingo cut file. And this is part of her 24 days of summer cut files. And I went ahead and did some planning here. I've cut the big cut file on textured white cardstock, and then I duplicated just the Flamingo. And I cut it in several different sizes on a couple different pattern papers here. Here's my photo. It's perfect for this flamingo. It's me standing in front of that giant flamingo that's outside of the Flamingo Casino in Las Vegas. And I already have an idea of where the photo is going to go and where all the other flamingos are going to go. And I'm going to just basically talk through it as I put this together. But here's the base cut file. You get this circle with these fun little stripes, and then you also get the actual flamingo that comes out of the center. So I left that one white because I'm going to color it up and do some things to it eventually. For the background, I'm going to use smooth, thick white cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and just coat this whole thing with some clear gesso to prep it for all of the sprays and inks and stuff that I'm going to add to it. And the gesso is the Art Basics from Finnabair, and this is my last bit of this gesso in the tube. I think now it comes in a little tub. So I'm not sure if I'm going to color up the flamingo only or the whole circle. So I'm just going to go ahead and coat all of it with some gesso because I have a couple of ideas floating around in my head. I'm thinking of coloring the whole thing. So to prep it, I'm going to coat it with the gesso because this cardstock is just textured white, and it needs to be prepped before I add a bunch of stuff to it. For the color flamingos, I'm going to smudge a little bit of white gesso on them to give them a little bit of interest and texture and dimension. And the reason I have the white gesso in my hand is because I had a splattering accident where the lid was gooped up, and I kind of started beating on it to get it ungooped, and a big blob of gesso flew across the room. And I just, I didn't catch that on film. You couldn't see it. Otherwise, I would have shown it to you because I just sat there with my mouth hanging open going, oh my gosh, there's gesso flying everywhere. But anyway, I got it cleaned up. I'm going to let those color flamingos dry up, and then I'm going to work on the white one. I pulled out some pink shimmers here. I've got colorings in Pretty in Pink. I've got colorings Pink Stilettos. I've got Vibes Sweetheart that I'm going to just kind of mix and match. I'm just spraying, I'm splattering. I'm going to use a brush with some water. I just want different shades of pink. This is very easy to do. It's messy, but it's fun, and it's imperfect. You're going to get some lights and some darks. I want a little bit of white space still left, so it's, it looks a little more realistic and just fun. What is this? This is white acrylic paint. I love the effect of this. Watch how this just kind of makes this fun marbly effect. And that's just plain old white acrylic craft paint. Add just a dab of water to it to make it a little looser or thinner, and then just splatter it into the wet shimmers, and it just creates this fun spotted marbly effect. And I'm going to just go back and forth with the colors, with the brush, with the water, with the white paint, and just keep going. Now the reason this color is able to kind of move and blend and spread is because of that gesso that I added earlier. The gesso is pretty much a primer, and it's going to protect the paper. It's going to allow me to move all that color around before it dries, and it's not going to just soak right through the paper. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to come back into the pattern paper flamingos and add a little bit of clear Nuvo paste. However, you can see here that my clear Nuvo paste is basically dried up. This was a disappointment to me because I didn't know that it was all dry and goopy. So here's what I'm going to try to do. I've never done this before. I don't even know if this is what you're supposed to do if it dries up, but I'm going to create a little watery mixture here. I just squirted some water in there, and then I'm going to stir it up and hope that this works because I want to use this on my pink flamingos. And I was very pleased that even though it was kind of watery and weird, it worked. It still stuck to my Flamingo and it dried perfectly. So if you have some Nuvo paste that's kind of old and not, able to get on a brush or your finger or a scooper or anything, just add a little bit of water to it and it'll get the job done. It's not perfect, but it worked. So I'm going to let those dry. I'm going to come back into my white Flamingo. Well, it was a white Flamingo, and you can see how it's sort of starting to dry. Now, this was something that I saw Brianna Lepper do in one of her, I think it was one of her Shimmers videos. And when she did this technique, I thought, I have got to try this. This is basically modeling paste or texture paste. And then I found this little jar of teeny tiny beads at Michael's. I think she used something else, but I had to try to find something to do this. And I'm just going to take the beads and smush it down into the texture paste. This is so cool and so easy. I love how this turns out. This gives this little Flamingo the coolest texture ever. And since I put a nice thick layer of the texture paste down first, the beads just sort of press into it and they stick there. So the texture paste kind of acts as a glue. And I'm going to do this in just various random spots on this Flamingo. So yeah, I am constantly getting inspired by other crafters, as I know you guys probably are as well. But I'm going to try to find that video where Brianna did this technique and link it so you can watch her do it. Because once I saw her do that, I thought, I have got to try that. I love how that looks. And this was so much fun. But yeah, these are just random little tiny beads. They're Recollections brand from Michael's. They have a bunch of different colors and things. I think they're in there with their sequins. But this poor little Flamingo is very flimsy at the moment because, remember, this is just plain old textured cardstock. So I'm treating it very gentle because I don't want it to fall apart. So I'm not going to do a whole lot with it here until it's dry. But doesn't that look cool? Just something new to try, something fun. And it gets a little messy, but you know what? You know me. I'm all about getting messy, so it doesn't bother me. And I'm just going to keep experimenting and playing. I'm going to splatter down a little bit more shimmers, add a little bit more water, and just kind of let the color kind of run amongst all of these little beads. And I definitely want to do this technique again because the outcome is really fun and really different. And I think it worked really well with this cute little Flamingo. And I didn't do it to any of the other Flamingos just because I didn't want to do too much. So I wanted this one to be special since it's going to be the one that's right in the center there. All right, so back to the background. I'm letting everything else dry, and I want to do some blue since I've got all this pink and orange. So to get my blue background started, I took a Distress Oxide. That color is Broken China, and just made a big smudge, a biggest smudgy circle on the background, and then activating it with water and letting it kind of turn into a watercolor effect. And again, remember, this is able to happen because of gesso. I'm a huge gesso fan because it just allows you to do so much on your paper before it dries. And you can blend colors, you can blend products. I'm adding some shimmers there, just spraying it directly on and then using my brush to kind of blend it together. And I like turning the page this way and that way and just letting the color kind of do its thing and then seeing how that looks with the cut file back on top of it. I want all this blue to show around the edges of the circle and then through all of those stripes. And I think this was a really good color choice because it's going to contrast beautifully with those orange and pink flamingos, I think. Yeah, this is fun. You know, you can't really mess this up because a layout like this, it's supposed to be imperfect. It's supposed to be kind of random, you know, and I love that. I love that it's just unique every time you do it. And because of the gesso, if you tend to make a mistake, you can kind of dab it up or you can add something on top of it and kind of fix it. It's very forgiving, and it gives you time to play. And I love that. So it's still kind of wet, but you can kind of see the look that I'm going for. I wanted to kind of add in some deeper blues in a couple spots. So I'm going to come back in with another shimmer spray. This one is called Deep Blue Sea, and it's more of a navy color. And I always love to kind of mix monochromatic colors together because it just gives you so much depth. You know, I've got that turquoisey blue in some spots, and then some of this navy in some spots, and it's really going to make the pink flamingos pop off the page, as well as the cut file. So yeah, I think I added in a little bit of a color called Snow Wayman, but it's not. It's going to kind of blend in with the darker blue here. And I let all of this just kind of dry on its own. I don't pull out the heat gun for any of this. I just keep going and keep getting it into where I like it. And then I did let it dry. You can see the different shimmer effects there, but I think it kind of looks like water. It looks kind of like a wave curling in and creating this, oh my gosh, look at that flamingo. It's dry. This is the next day. And I'm already loving the contrast and the colors on this. Oh my goodness. Oh, there's the shimmery Nouveau Glimmer Paste. It's dry on those pink and orange flamingos. And you can just see there how different they look, just in the variation of color and with the white gesso that I smudged on there. It's not something huge. It just gives them a little bit of interest and dimension. So this is kind of how I'm going to have it going. I know where everything is going to go. I still want to work on the background a little bit, of course, because I can never be finished. White paint again, I'm just going to add some splatters. And let me show you what happens if you dab it up too quick. I'm going to roll my paper towel right over, and it's almost just erased. So if you dab something up too soon, you can almost completely erase it. You know, and that just goes to show you what I was talking about earlier. If you do something and you don't like it, if you have the gesso down first, you can dab it up and start over. But if you want to leave it and have it to be more visible, then let it sit for a little bit and then maybe try to dab it up. Or you don't have to dab it up at all. You could just let it sit there and dry, and you're going to have those nice crisp white dots. But if you want them to be a little bit more subtle, lightly roll some paper towels right over it, and it kind of just gives it that ghost effect where you can kind of see it, but it's not super crisp. Just depends on what look you want to go for. I'm ready to glue down the base cut file, and I want to make sure it's straight because all of those lines, I don't want those lines to be crooked. So I'm going to just use my glue here, trace around the flamingo. I'm using Scotch tacky glue. That's the only glue that I ever use in my fine liner bottle there that I have used for forever. You can see why it's so dirty, because my hands are always smudgy and they've always got gesso and paint and stuff on them. But yeah, I love that glue. I love this little fine liner bottle. You can get those at Amazon, or I believe you can. I haven't been in Hobby Lobby in forever, but I know they used to have them at Hobby Lobby, in the aisle where the little model cars are, if you're still looking for a fine liner bottle. I wanted to jazz up this big pink flamingo in the back because it was a little too pink. I wanted to kind of add in a little bit of that peachy, orangey color to kind of match the color of the flamingo in my photo. So I pulled out another shimmers. This one's in a little pot. It's an Inklings called Just Peachy. And I'm just going to paint right over that glimmer paste, use my finger just to kind of smudge it in, just to kind of give it a different color so it stands out a little bit against the other flamingos. So there's not just straight pink. You kind of get a little bit of variation there. And you'll see the difference here when I go to put it back in. But you can kind of see it kind of matches that faded flamingo that's in my photo there. Yeah, and I want the photo to be there on the right. In the meantime, I know I want to add some embellishments, so I decided to go with flowers. So I went through the Splendid 12 by 12 paper pad and fussy cut out a bunch of flowers in pink, orange, and blue, as well as that little sentiment that says, "That was great." And I'm going to try to find places to put all of that. I'm going to go ahead and layer up some white tissue paper behind my photo, which I always love to do. It just creates sort of a subtle border, and it's always kind of messy and crunchy and uneven, and I love that. I'm also going to add this piece of pattern paper from Splendid. It's the perfect blue to match the blue that I got going on with some white flowers, and I'm just going to ruffle up the edges and have this kind of peeking around the edges there, just to give a little bit of interest. And layers are great behind your photo because they kind of help create a separation, so the photo kind of stands out a little bit more. And then I'm going to start to add in some adhesive foam here. And I want all of these flamingos to kind of pop off the page to, I know I say it, I feel like a broken record, to create dimension, which it's the truth, you know? I think adhesive foam makes such a big difference on so many things. The one that's in the background there, I'm going to glue that one straight down because it's a background design. And then this main one here, we're going to pop up because she's special. She's got the beads, and she's the leader of this little flamingo gang here. And the one in the background is going to be flat. But you can see the variation in color there now that I added that orangey paint to it. And then I'm going to have this darker pink one kind of in front of that one. And I decided to put my photo on the lower right corner because the flamingo is looking up toward the left. And if you've seen any of my videos, you know how I like to organize my photos. I always like to have the main thing in the photo kind of looking in toward the middle of the layout, or looking up at something, or looking down at something, just depending on where the eyes are going or where the face is turned. I just like to have it where everything is kind of, all this gang of flamingos, or I guess I should say a flock of flamingos, are all going in the same direction until they meet these two smaller ones. These two smaller ones are coming to meet them, and so everything's kind of going in toward the middle, if that makes sense. I didn't want another big flamingo because I felt like that would be too much for the left side. So we're going to go with the smaller ones. And then I want that little tiny orange one overlapping the photo over there. And then I'm going to layer that blue flower right on top of the photo there. And I like those 3 flowers up at the top left. So I think that's where those are going to go. I do add a little bit of thread. This is that deep pink color, just for a little bit of texture and interest right there. I love how that looks. So I'm going to start to glue that down. Don't want it to move. I'm going to add some adhesive foam behind the photo since the main flamingo is popped up as well. And it's got all those beads on it. So it's definitely got some dimension and height going on. I love how that is looking. I don't want to crowd the photo too much, even though the main focus of the photo is the flamingo and me standing at the bottom of it. I don't want to hide anything in the photo. I don't want to cover up anything that's important, but there is some extra space there. So I feel like that blue flower and the orange flamingo are creeping up on the photo just enough. Anything else I think is going to be too much. Just trying to figure out where these flowers are going to go. I don't want to cover up too much of the background, but it needs something besides just the flamingos. So I'm going to add a little bit more thread down at the bottom, and that is a peachy orangey color. It kind of matches the orangey flamingos. I want it to look kind of messy and loopy and tangled. And then for some of these random flowers, I'm going to pop those off the page as well. I'm trying to find out the best spot for the "that was great" piece, that little sentiment. I don't want to chop off a flamingo's neck and cover it, so I got to figure out where that's gonna go. yeah, just placing the flowers here and there. Gonna glue those down. Don't want to do too much. I don't want it to be too crowded, but at the same time, I don't want it to be too open. I feel like the bulk of this is finished. I am going to add in this shaped paper clip. In the Splendid collection, there's a little pack of heart paper clips, but I'm not going to clip it onto anything. I'm also going to use some of the sequins. There's a little sequin pack of flowers, and there are some blue flowers. And when you kind of put them in the light, they're almost holographic. So in some light, they look blue, and some light, they look green. So what I'm going to do is find homes for these little shiny sequin flowers, glue them down, and then I do come over them with a little smudge of white gesso, and it kind of helps them stay blue. I know that's weird, but it did. So in the light, because I didn't really have any green on this layout, and so I didn't want to add a new color, so I wanted them to stay blue. Now for the title, I'm just going to title this The Flamingo, since I'm standing outside of the casino, the Flamingo, and I use the thickers from Splendid. I'm going to go with all pink. Some of them are light pink, some of them are darker pink, and I'm going to mix and match. And then I'm going to add the word the in blue. So we've still got the same base colors here, and I felt like that was a good spot for it. But I just wanted to kind of show you what I've got so far. You can see those flowers that kind of look green sometimes. But look at the beads. I love the beads. And I love the Nouveau Glimmer Paste. Oh my gosh, that stuff can transform anything. Oh, so pretty. I'm adding some dimension to the flowers. Again, this is when I add the white gesso to the sequiny flowers, and then on top of some of the paper flowers. I just feel like it gives them a little bit of a weathered look, and they're not so crisp. This is a little chipboard piece that I'm going to add here under the Flamingo. It says Good Things, and I like how that looks. It's trimmed in a metallic gold. And then for That Was Great, I'm going to cut it so it's going to be more of a stacked sentiment instead of one long sentence, because I could not make it fit anywhere that made sense. So cutting it made it fit a little bit better. And I still wanted to use that because I liked it, and I liked that it was the right color. So I'm going to cut it and then kind of just wedge it up there into that little flower cluster. And it's not overlapping any of the flamingos. And then I'm going through the 8-page sticker book here. There are a couple things that I wanted to use, just trying to see if there's any little teeny tiny things I can add. I like these little circles and label stickers, and then these little sentiment stickers. I do change one of those out at the top. And then I wanted to add one more spot of thread. So I decided to go with blue. I make a big messy circle and then kind of add it around that pink flower so you can kind of see a little bit of it. And then I did glue down that heart paper clip. But here you can see the dimension and all the different textures and shimmery, glittery colors and flowers and everything. One of the last things I'm going to do is top off the centers of the flowers with some of my sequins from my stash. All of my sequins here, these little circle sequins, are from Spiegel Mom's Scraps, and I just add a little bit of those to each of the flowers just to give them a little bit of something. Love that. I've got some blue ones and some pink ones. And then I'm going to add in one more chipboard sticker from Splendid to go underneath That Was Great. I think that says Pretty Neat Stuff. Make sure it's straight. And I am almost done, I think. Oh, yes. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I felt like I needed a little more blue over here on the upper right area. So I'm just going to add that in right quick. and I used the shimmers, the same colors that I used earlier. I'm going to add my journaling right down here at the bottom. I do like to use my T-square ruler there to make sure the lines are straight, and then I'm using a black fine tip Sharpie for the journaling. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add in the date, which I'm using the roller stamp from the Splendid collection. And then I'm going to add in some gold splatters. I figured, you know what? I've got a couple little spots of gold going on in here on those chipboard stickers, so you might as well just add some gold. You know you want to, just do it. So I'm using the Jen Hatfield gold glitter spray for that, and that is definitely going to be the last thing because that's the final layout. I love how this turned out. I love this cut file. I love everything about this. The Splendid collection is perfect for this. And I took a lot of close-ups so you can see all the details up close here. Highly recommend you trying this bead technique. So much fun. If you like texture and you like dimension and you don't mind getting your hands a little messy, try it out. Lots of fun. The results are awesome. But let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to link everything that I used down below. I'm going to link Paige's 24 days of summer cut files. I believe this is day 8. So yeah, she's got a ton. Every single day from here until the end of July, there's going to be a new summer cut file. And I believe you can buy each one individually or you can buy the entire bundle. So you can't go wrong with summer cut files mixed with Paige Evans' brain and her collections. So yeah, highly recommend. Anyway, thank you guys so much for stopping by, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much.